All right, everyone, welcome to the Real Estate Game Changer Show. My name is Mike McKay, based in Jacksonville, Florida. Every week we do this show. We invite people from all over the country who are changing the game in real estate. If you are in the Jacksonville market and you need help on anything or you're trying to sell deals, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you. We are also actively looking to increase our rental portfolio in Jacksonville. So reach out to me. I'll shoot you our buy box. We'd be happy to buy deals off you as well. Um, and this is a live show. So please make sure to comment questions for our guests to answer. This week on the show, we have Jaysen Robles. He jumped into wholesaling and flipping after COVID shut down his nightclub promotion business. Quickly grew the wholesaling and flipping business to do $4.8 million in revenue in 2021. So, Jaysen, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks.
Um, so before we dive into the real estate stuff, I remember when you and I met at Steve Trang's event, we discovered that we both came. Years ago, I had come from working in the nightclub business as well for years. So, you want to talk a little bit about what your nightclub business looked like, and then we'll talk a little bit about the transition that you made into real estate as well.
Yeah, so we started. I used to work for Sergio. He's my partner now in this business as well. At that time,
Hmm.
he had a company called Sergio Nights. We were marketing pretty much every Latin nightclub at that time, all the way from 2014 all the way up till I would say 2020, right when COVID happened.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, we grew it into $1 million a year business. Believe it or not, charging people cover,
Yep.
getting a consultation fee from bar owners, from bar sales and things of that nature, which is just technically you're not supposed to do that in AZ, but that's that was our consulting fee.
Sure.
That was our consulting fee, and we actually I met Sergio. I used to be a manager at a gentleman's club originally. I met him
Okay.
there because he started promoting a night for us there, and then from there we went to all the nightclub promotions, and we rocked it out ever since. I worked for him for 2 to 3 years. After that, he made me his partner. I pretty much ran the business. He retired 100%. I ran the business for the next 2 to 3 years.
Hmm.
We grew it to $1 million a year in sales, and just door entry and consultation fees, and we did pretty good, and we were still rocking and rolling and doing really well until COVID hit, and it just completely shut us down.
Yeah.
We all took a vacation. We thought it was going to be like a 2 week thing. It was like, hey guys, you
Yeah.
know what? Everybody go take a vacation. COVID's here. We'll be back in a couple weeks. And
Yeah.
that couple weeks became months, and those months became a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember those times, and it's interesting when you tell people you came from the nightclub business. I mean, I was doing it in New York, right? And people always ask me, like, is that a real business? Can you like make money doing that? And you can. Like, it is a real business to promote nightclubs.
Definitely.
It's exhausting, but it is a real business. Um, did you take anything you learned from that business, and did that help you at all when you were starting your wholesaling and flipping business?
Yeah, well, I think we were really good at marketing and operations for that business, right? Because as a nightclub promoter, most nightclub
Hmm.
promoters, they go into a place just to pretty much drink free alcohol and
Yeah.
party with girls, right? Like that's like
Yep.
most nightclub promoters do. That's their goal. That's what they want to do. For us, we got really good at marketing,
Hmm.
and we got really good at making club owners money, and
Hmm.
we got really good at running our operation.
Hmm.
I could, we had data from the year before knowing when we were going to have slow weekends, when we were going to have busy weekends, when we needed to have better specials. I mean, we had it dialed in.
Wow.
So we ran it like a real business compared to just a bunch of guys going out and partying and getting free bottle at the table.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I
that's
think.
kind of what differentiated us.
What were you guys doing for marketing in that business? I mean, I know what I was doing in New York City, but I'm curious what you guys were doing out in Phoenix.
Facebook leads. We're doing Facebook lead gen, so we're marketing on
Okay.
Facebook. which obviously that, um, that became secondary once Instagram got a lot more popular. So we were marketing mostly on Instagram.
Yeah.
Um, we were hiring Instagram influencers as well, to
Okay.
market our event. So we're teaming up with those people. We're teaming up with pretty much like local businesses that had stuff that had to do with nightclubs, like boutique clothing, right? Women, that's where women go and
Hmm.
get some of the clothing to go out in the evening. So we would get with them and promote. We actually connected with Live Nation a couple times at some of the big concerts that they did here in town. So we
Hmm.
connect with them, give ticket giveaways and things of that nature. Then in turn, just helped our branding and things of that nature. But I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing is we just had a niche, right? Our niche was 21 to 25-year-old Latin community, and we stuck
Yeah.
to it, and it worked really well for us.
That's awesome, man. Um, so COVID comes. It's March 2020. You think it's going to be 2 weeks like everyone. You take some time off, and then you started getting part-time in wholesaling at first, or tell me more about that.
So as a nightclub promoter, right, I pretty much just worked for the most part. I worked Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday evenings, but for the
Hmm.
most part, we had Sunday, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays during the daytime open all the time, which gave us a lot of free time. So at the time that we were promoting, we would fix and flip a house here and there. So a buddy
Okay.
of ours was like, "Hey man, have you heard of this fix and flip thing?" And we saw it on the TV shows just like everybody else, right? And so what we ended up doing is we teamed up with the contractor. He was our friend as well. He was actually a DJ. He was like, "Hey man, I just bought this flip." I was like, "You guys should go in with us." I was like, "All right, cool."
Okay.
We did it, and we did one, and we actually bought. We did one with him, and the second one was Carlos Reyes and Sal here in town.
Yeah.
They're like the
Yeah.
they're yeah, those guys are like at least in our community, that's where we first heard of like, wholesaling and fix and flipping, things of that nature. And
Sure.
we reached out to them, was like, "Hey man, we're looking to buy a flip, blah blah blah. It's our first one." And they sold us a deal. It's like, "Oh yeah, we got a deal, right? Who's not gonna sell you a deal, right?" We
Yeah.
were we were super green at the time. And honestly, believe it or not, they sold us a decent deal. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Really? Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
well, we were stoked, right? We were able to
Yeah.
post on Instagram. Oh, we bought our first flip, and blah blah blah, and all this stuff. And it was easy. It was like a tile roof, stucco housing. I think we put 10K in it. We spent more money on the down payment than anything. We put 10K in it, listed it. When it was all
Wow.
said and done, I think we made like $8,000 on it, right? And
Yeah.
I was like, well, we didn't lose money, but we didn't really make any money. But this wasn't our full time gig, so for us, it was just like, wow, that's some extra money.
Yeah.
Um, but what we did look at was the assignment fee. It's like $35,000. Holy shit! It was like, and at the time I thought, oh well, Carlson South, they made way too much money compared. We put all the work, we did all the risk. But now that I'm on the wholesale side, I realized I was like, no, it's really hard for them to find a deal. And I think as a flipper at that time, you don't know that, right? It was like, hey, you think a
Sure.
wholesaler just finds these deals out of thin air and they can just hand it off to you, but the reality, it's not. It takes it takes a huge amount of time and
Hmm.
a lot of time and a lot of money invested in marketing and things of that nature. So, but at the moment,
Yeah.
we didn't know that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You're just like they sold
You
me
know?
the paper for 35 grand, and we should do that. Right.
Yeah. We're like, we should do that, man. But we never did, right? Because I was so busy in the nightclub. Plus, I was having fun. I was in the
Yeah.
nightclub industry. I'm having fun. I have a business. We're rocking and rolling. So I never gave it its full attention until March of 2020 when COVID happened. I took
Okay.
off to Hawaii for about a month. I was like, hey, I'm out of here. I'll be back, guys. I'll see you guys in a bit. And then we got back. Everything COVID was still here. So I was like, wow, this is going to be here for a minute.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to a buddy of mine, Efren from Gold Level Media, believe it or not.
Hmm.
I told him, hey, Efren, I got some money stored away. I'm thinking of buying some trucks and trailers. He's like, why are you buying
Hmm.
trucks and trailers? Because he handled our marketing for Surge Nights, which is our nightclub business.
Okay.
And he's like, why are you doing that? I was like, so pretty much I initially went to him, I was like, I need you to make me a website for my new trucks and trailers, all this stuff. He's like, what are you
Yep.
doing, man? I was like, well, nightclubs are going to be shut down for a while. My buddy's running trucks for Amazon. He's crushing it. I was like, I'm just going to buy a truck and trailer and do that. And he was like, well, why start a whole new business when you kind of already know about fixing and flipping? Why don't you try wholesaling it?
Yeah.
Wholesaling. And I was like, hey, you know what? You're right. I was like, we should try that. We know a bit about it. I was like, we should give it a shot. So we dabbled in it part time for the rest of 2020 and got no
Mhm.
traction. Like when I'm telling you zero traction, got no traction.
Like no deals,
Um,
no contracts, nothing like that.
yes, we would get a contract, but we would have to buy it and flip it, and we'd buy it and flip it. And with the flip money, we'd invest it all into marketing and the wholesale side again. And it was always just a net zero, right? We were never
Yeah.
really making money. So I was like, dude, like this shit does not work, man.
And you'd have to buy it and flip it because you didn't buy it cheap enough to wholesale it. Is that why or
Yeah, Yeah,
okay.
exactly. So it was like
Yeah.
we just weren't we were and my partner would tell me our friend Armando at that time, he was kind of like helping us because he was already doing it.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, like he goes, like, we bought the same data, we got the same type of cold callers, we're doing the same texting, all that stuff, right? And we weren't just getting any traction.
Mm.
And I was trying to just figure everything out. And at that time, my partner's surgery, he was already retired, right? He's like, hey, like I'm good. Like, he had retired from the nightclub industry, and I told him, hey, I'm gonna need your help. If we're gonna do this, if not, I'm gonna go buy some trucks and trailers, and we'll figure that out. We'll make some
Yeah.
money there, or I kind of need your help. With getting this whole wholesale operation and going. And yeah, he came in. We went in full time. I would say January of 2021, because we were saying, okay, let's
Yeah.
quit effing around. Let's go 100% on this thing.
Yeah. What do you think was the missing ingredient there, right? Because you said it yourself, your buddy was using the same data, same cold callers, everything. Like what? And he was doing deals. Your friend who
He
you
was doing deals.
he was doing
Hmm.
deals. So what do you feel was the missing ingredient that he was doing that you guys weren't doing in before you went full time?
We were shit in sales. We were
Okay.
horrible at sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were we were horrible in sales, and that was an issue there. Even me, I was like, oh shit, man, I don't want to get on the phone. I don't
Yeah.
want to talk to these people. We were just
You're
really bad at sales, and I hired an acquisitions guy
okay.
that wasn't that good in sales, right? So it's like, fuck, like your lead. I hired a guy that's not that good in sales, and it's not his fault, right? He didn't know. Like I could only teach him what I knew at the moment,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we hired a couple more guys that came in acquisitions, and some of these guys were just naturally gifted guys in sales, and our
Mm.
business just skyrocketed from there.
So and that was in 2021. That was when you decided to go at it full time when you hired those couple guys who were naturally gifted, or was that a little bit before?
2021, January 2021, we said, hey, we're gonna go full time. We're gonna
Hmm.
dial
Yep.
this in. We bought new data, new everything, and again, keep in mind, a few months before, my buddy's next to me cashing $50,000 checks, $100,000 checks. I'm like, what the hell? I'm looking at him like, dude, what the fuck? I can't get anything here. And
Yeah.
what it was, I just didn't. Obviously, I didn't realize it at the moment, right? And he was trying to even figure it out for me because he felt bad, because we were in
Yeah.
the same office. We're just, we're all in the same office. We're sharing office
Yeah.
space, but he had his operation going and I had my operation going. He was being successful. I was doing, like I was doing shit. I was like, man, like I can't figure it out, right? But it was our sales process wasn't right.
Yeah. So 2021 comes January, decide to go full time. Was the first thing you did at that point, besides buying new data, was hire those new sales guys, or what was your first step after buying the new data?
We bought new data. We actually, at that point, I think we skip traced all of Maricopa County. So we
Okay.
pretty much grabbed every household that was 3 years or older that hadn't been purchased in the last 3 years. We skip traced everybody. I think I forget how many millions of records, but I think it was like 1.2 or 1.3, something of that nature at that time. Um, so we did that. We hired two guys, and we actually got sales training. And
Okay.
we got our first sales training was John Martinez. Have you heard of that guy?
Yep. I went to one of his seminars a while back. Yeah.
Yep, out in Texas.
I went to one in Orlando when he had it maybe a year and a half ago, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So we shut out. We went to John Martinez, kind of went there. I was like, okay, what am I missing here? Figured out that, hey, I just didn't have a sales process. I was like, okay,
Yep,
great. Like, I just don't have a sales process and I'm doing the same, that it's repeatable. And the guys are using the same thing over and over. That way you realize is like, hey, you can figure out throughout your sales process where you're going wrong.
sure.
Um, Once we learned that, we were off to the races. We were getting deals left to right. I had a dispo guy in town. My partner introduced me to him. He's, Alex Wilkins, here in town. Everybody knows him. He's the Wholesale Brothers. He sells the majority of our deals or whatnot, and he was selling everything for us. And he introduced me to a buyer. He's like, hey, like I know you're gonna. He goes, these guys don't let me do assignments, but they're a big buyer. I was like, well, who's that? He's like, it's a company called Amherst. So you're gonna have to go directly to him. He's like, just give me 5K for the connection. I was like, all right, cool. He's like, but I got you 45 grand on this deal, but it has to go direct to you since you're direct to seller on this contract. And I was
Gotcha.
like, shit, yeah, man. Like, I was like, the house isn't even worth that. They were paying me ARV for the property. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take it. You know what I mean?
So pretty early on, this is like a couple months into 2021, you guys kind of figured out the hedge fund game, like pretty quick.
I think it was March where we really dialed it in. March, April, where we dialed
Okay.
it in. Before that, we were just wholesaling, 10K here, 15K there, 20K here. But once we got to hedge fund, our deal on average, our salary was anywhere from 40 to 60.
Wow. So you guys, so you hire these two new sales guys. Did you put them through John's training, or I know like you did Steve's training at some point too? Like, what? How did you get them trained up? The, those sales
Yeah,
guys.
they're originally trained up on John Martinez.
Okay.
And after that, my buddy, obviously we seen Steve training, sales training online on Instagram and things of that nature. And asked my buddy, I was like, hey, we suck at sales. I was like, maybe we should get more training. My buddy was like, no, you don't need to spend money on that. You already know what you need to do. But at least me and my partner, we've always been, I guess, for us, it's always like, always learn, always be learning, always be
Yeah.
learning, always be learning.
Yep.
And we had the conversation with Steve, and Steve closed us. He sold us on our first call. So we got into his sales mentorship. We did that, and he really helped us and mentored us on not only sales, honestly, operations, things of that nature. He's a very bright guy. Well, he was an engineer before, so that'll tell you a lot about him.
Yep. So you put that process in place. You've got two acquisitions guys, and you said you had skip traced, I mean, 1.2 million records in Maricopa County. So were you just hitting everyone, like no targeted list, just let's call everyone or text everyone, or what were you guys doing?
Yeah, we were cold calling at that point. I think we had about 30 cold callers, and we were
Okay.
doing about 40,000 texts per day. So we're doing
40,000
about
texts every day.
40,000 SMS per day. And keep in mind, so one record, technically on average, they have about two to three numbers that's probably the husband, wife, or the head of household, the child, whoever lives there in the opportunity. So, you go through your phone number one, then you go through phone number two, then phone number three, and
Yep.
just hit all those. And honestly, anybody that raised their hand that said yes, interested, or how much, anything of that nature, we would send it through as a qualified lead, and it was up to our acquisitions guys to decide whether this person was BSing you or they actually wanted to sell or anything of that nature, right? They qualified the lead, and from there, they try to close it.
So you at this point, you guys didn't like have any lead managers in between or junior acquisitions people. You were just pushing right to those two guys, all those leads.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, at that time we had three guys because it was my original guy plus the two new guys. So
Oh,
they
right.
were
Okay.
all running and gunning. So yeah, we didn't even know what lead managers were. I was like, what's a lead manager, man? Like
Sure.
we had no idea what the hell that was. So like, hey, our guys are running and gunning with it.
Were um were they overloaded with 30 cold callers and 40,000 texts a day for three guys? I mean,
Hell yeah, they were. We didn't know it at the time, right? I was just funneling stuff. At the time, we were just funneling through, just giving handing them leads, hand over fist. But at the time, we didn't know that we were giving them too much leads.
sure.
You
I
know,
mean,
we didn't know that till like I think the fall of that year. That hey, your guys have way too much leads.
yeah. So you kind of figure out the hedge fund game earlier. You got a couple sales guys going. You got a process now. What at what point, I remember there was a point where you guys kind of started going into other markets as well. Really going exclusively focused on hedge funds. When did that come about?
Um, well, when we were working with these hedge funds, they have a thing that's called the buy box,
Yep.
right? And this buy box, they sent it out. It's like, hey, um, we're currently buying in these markets, right?
Hmm.
So one of them, obviously, Phoenix was number one, but they had Tucson, then they had Atlanta, and they had Tampa. I'm not sure if they ever went into Jacksonville or not. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure Tiber and those other guys were there too as well.
They were there.
Okay, so there you go. So at that point, once we knew that, it's like, hey, you know what? Get their buy box, skip trace in every market that they're buying in.
Hmm.
Skip trace their whole buy box, and just we were literally all we're doing is lead gen for those two or three hedge funds, and that's all we're doing 100% of the time.
Got it. And that like increased your guys' spread from 10K a deal to 40 to 60 is what I think we were talking about offline.
Yeah, I would say on average we're in the 40s, 45, somewhere in that range. I don't have it. We weren't keeping track of shit back then. I'll be quite honest with you. We just knew we were
Sure.
making
Yeah.
money, right?
Yeah.
Now
Well,
with
yeah.
Yeah, now we do. We know, right? I think I checked yesterday, and I think I'm like 22,400 and like $78 per deal as
Yeah.
our average size right now. But back then, we weren't tracking anything.
Yeah. Well, the bank balance going up like this is usually a good KPI to look at. So that's the
Yeah,
most
for
important
sure,
KPI. So,
for sure, for sure.
so you start going um, here. I mean, I mean, you must be getting tons of leads. Like, you had to hire more guys. Like, how did you really figure out this sales thing? I remember you said at one point when we were offline before that you at one point you kind of simplified your sales process. Could you talk more about that?
Well, I think for us, it was just asking, just other people, other wholesalers, people that were in our mastermind with Steve Tring, right?
Yeah.
And actually, when we went to that boot camp, right? Steve's and Max at that time, it was like, hey, Max, like, how many leads should your guy get? He's like, how many? I was like, cold call leads or good? He's like, yeah, like just a really good lead. He's like, man, a guy, if you're giving a guy, 5 to 8 leads a day, that's good.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, that really opened up my eyes. I was like, holy shit! And then I started asking other guys within that boot camp. It was like, how many leads are you getting your guys? And the same thing, like everybody was under 10, sub 10. Reach out to Carlos and Sal, like, how many leads are you getting your guys? It's like, hey, like, yeah, they're good between, 5 to 10 leads per day. So at that point, we just realized we were getting way too many leads. But again, that came I would say that came sometime early of 2022 or late 2021. And reason being is obviously, right, we saw that we weren't making as many deals as we were. And that's, it's like anything. When everything's good, like you don't pay a lot of attention to stuff. But as soon as things
Sure.
start slowing down, you start micromanaging everything.
Hmm. And did you change anything else about the sales process besides just the simplify, besides just giving them, not overloading your guys?
I think that was the biggest thing, just not overloading, and then just keeping KPIs, keeping metrics on what we should be doing, how many offers we should be doing a day, how many calls we should be doing a day, our talk time,
Hmm.
things of that nature. Just holding your guys accountable. And
Yeah.
once we did that, I think it just really simplified everything for us.
And what does that look like for you today? I mean, now I know you have lead managers and you have, acquisitions guys. I mean, what are you expecting like an acquisitions guy to make in terms of phone calls a day and talk time and offers and all those kind of metrics?
I think our right now our KPI on as far as calls, it's at least 100 calls a day,
Okay.
at least 1.5 hours of talk time per day.
Okay.
They need to have, I believe we're asking them to have at least 10 to 12 conversations. Because out of those 100 calls, right, most of those are going to go anywhere. But you need to have
Yeah.
10 to 12 conversations, and they need to make at least 5 offers per day.
And what do you guys consider a conversation? for your sales guys?
Pretty much them to go through the whole qualification in the body, right? Of the what's some called. It's like, hey, I'm reaching out to you because you talked to my partner Sam about possibly selling your home on Main Street. Yes, great. You have 5 to 10 minutes to have a conversation about it, right? And if they say yeah, boom, have them go through their whole script, right? If they're not getting to the end where they start negotiating and pricing, there's something that they're messing up within the body of that conversation.
Got it. So it's really making it through the whole conversation, not just even a minute or two.
Yeah, so because if someone's having, let's just say 15 conversations, but they don't have any offers, there's something that they're doing. They're either not qualifying in the beginning well enough,
Yeah.
or throughout that conversation, they're off-putting people.
Yeah. And how are you dividing it? I mean, you've got lead managers now, so where does the lead manager stop and the acquisition starts?
It's a new role that honestly we haven't optimized. We actually maximized before we optimized. We should have been optimizing. You just hired one guy and optimized is exactly his role.
Sure.
Um, we're still learning. We're still going through it right now.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, my lead manager, the same thing. They're actually having about 150 to 200 calls per day.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, kind of like their goal for them is just like, hey, does this person actually want to sell, or did they just say yes because 1,000 people call them and text them every day?
Yeah.
That's number one. I was like, hey, are you actually looking to sell? Number two, are you looking to sell at Zillow price or below?
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, like your job is to just get the closer, someone that does want to sell. If they want Zillow price or below, it's a sales guy's job to reset expectations. And
Mm.
then the third thing is if, hey, are they looking to sell within the next 90 days? And that's kind of what we look at.
And then it goes over to a sales guy if they say
Correct.
yes to those
Yeah, and
criteria.
even if they want Zillow pricing, it's their job to kind of get for them to reset expectations to the seller and let them know how much we purchased for and things of that nature. Which the biggest thing that we figured out since June, like I mean, no, I'm sure, but I'm not sure how bad you guys are feeling it, but our market crashed in June here as an
Yeah.
investor.
Yeah. Yeah, we've
We're
been
in a different world.
yeah. I mean, I've heard Phoenix was wild. Um, so last year, right? So you start going after, really focused on hedge funds 100%. I mean, what's your business looking like in like September, October of 21? So I guess about a year ago.
I mean, in June, man, we started hitting, and I think starting in June, we're starting to hit 700, 800K months,
Wow.
and straight wholesale assignment fees. So we're just crushing it at that time. Um, in the fall, we're still doing okay, but I think we leveled out to like, we're doing like threes, 400s, things of that nature
Yeah.
months. And then that was kind of like our average after that, we're staying in the threes. But, so we're still doing well. And again, we're making good money. So I guess we weren't focusing on our processes and operations as much as we should have.
Yeah.
But I think like January of this year we were right. It was like, hey, let's focus on our process. Let's make sure. Oh, we moved into this huge office, right?
Hmm.
Like we moved into this huge office out here. We just our overhead just went nuts for a while. Like we were going to every mastermind, any sales training. Like we were just buying everything, right?
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah.
we were, and for us, it's like we're just reinvesting in the business. We're reinvesting in the business, and we always have. But when we sat down and looked at it, it was like we had a huge overhead. And then I
Yeah.
started like fixing and flipping. I started doing other things, so we kind of just got spread thin there.
Sure.
Uh, but I believe like come January, I kind of like said, hey, you know what? Let's focus on just wholesaling. I'll fix
Yep.
and flip if the opportunity comes, but I'm not gonna make it my number one priority. And then we're still doing well, and I think that's when the whole mortgage rate situation started changing in which March, April,
Hmm.
something of that nature. But it
Yeah.
really hit us really hard in June.
So yeah, tell me more about that. I mean, you're selling a lot to hedge funds, right? And obviously, when rates go up, that hugely impacts what they're willing to pay for properties. We felt it in Jacksonville as well, with a lot of institutional buyers either exiting the market or just offering prices that I would pay more than. And when you're offering, and when you're offering, I mean, they were just offering insane, I mean, just insanely low numbers.
Yeah.
So did you guys decide at that point to switch something in your business, or like when did that switch come along for you?
Or I think it was either like May or June. We had like 950K in our pipeline, and it got wiped out in one day
They
or one
canceled.
week.
They canceled
Yeah,
contracts, or
yeah, all of our contracts that we had on said, hey, we got to cancel the agreements, and we literally went from a pipeline of close to a million, probably to like 70K, something of
wow.
that nature. Yeah. So it was a shock
So
to the system, shock to my sales guys, shock to my transaction coordinator. Like everybody was just like, holy shit, what happened?
yeah. So that
Yeah.
happens, right? You get calls from these funds canceling their contracts. Probably like what do you do at that point? I mean, it's a shock to everyone, but you've got to take action. What's the next thing you guys did?
Um, the next thing for us is figure out, hey, like, so we got to learn how to dispo now, right? Like 100%. We got to learn our dispo process. It's no longer getting a deal,
Hmm.
emailing it, sending it to the hedge funds, waiting for a bid, and then going contract our
Yep.
process. And even when we were dispoing before, it was like get a deal, send it to the three big dispo well, so number one, we'd select to my buddy Wilkins. I was like, hey, can you sell this deal for me? Can you email it out? Like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll send it out. Like, that was it. That was like, get pictures, send it out.
Yeah.
It's a done deal. So we were doing that. He was like, dude, like people aren't buying. I was like, what do you mean people aren't buying? He was like, dude, like none of my buyers are buying. I don't know what to tell you.
And he was selling to
And
funds, pretty much exclusively to funds, or
no, no, he was dealing with straight cash buyers.
okay.
But at that point, everybody froze.
Mhm.
That when June came around, like everybody was just, holy crap, what happened to these rates?
Yeah. Yep.
Like it really shocked the system.
Like, what were you guys? I mean, I know that like a lot of these funds, they were paying close to ARV for properties, at least around here. I mean, so what were you guys contracting? Like, what percentage were you contracting these properties at before the shift?
So they were paying us about like newer homes, right, which were 1990 plus builds, tile roofs, stucco siding. They were paying us 90% of ARV on those, right?
Okay.
Um, on homes that were, let's just say, like 1990s and older, shingle roof, dated homes, but still clean, just dated but clean homes, they were paying around 85%. Um, dated shingle roof, older homes that were really beat up, they were paying around 80%.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it was then. And everybody back then was paying about 80, like cash buyers were paying about 80% for everything, right? That was on the market.
Yep.
But right, what we're seeing now is guys are paying anywhere from 60 to 70% on a deal right now.
Yeah.
That's what the cash buyer is paying right now.
So were you guys contracting that stuff back then at like you had like a 10 or 15% cushion under what their buyers were paying at the time? So if they were 90 on a deal, you guys would be at like 75, 80, or what were you guys trying to buy
Correct.
at?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say we're getting deals right around the 70, 75% consistently. That's where we're
Okay.
at.
Yeah. So you guys are still buying like, pretty well. I mean, for the hot market that we were in.
Yeah, but I mean, you just had those anomalies with them when honestly there was certain times where they were paying 110% of the ARV, right? So we're thinking they're going to give us like 80%. They're paying 110, so that 100K deal on one of them just made up for all the other ones, right? And
Yeah.
they honestly were.
And at this point, do you have pretty much direct relationships with these major funds, or were you still going through one of your buddies who had these fund relationships?
We were going direct, but most of them kind of simplified the process as far as like just going online and putting the property address, and then they email you a number back and say, hey, if it
Yeah.
works for you, I'm sign here. If it doesn't, then f off. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
So who are the big buyers in Arizona at the time? I mean, you got Amherst. Was Tiber a big buyer out there, or who was really buying a lot? in the Phoenix market?
Uh, we were just working with Amherst and Tiber.
Okay, just
And
those two.
Tiber wasn't in Phoenix. They were just out in Georgia, Florida,
Yeah,
your markets pretty much. The
gotcha.
Carolinas, pretty much some of the South, you know.
And you guys didn't expand out to any other funds at that point, or you were just doing so well with those, you just focused on acquisitions, or
We would send them out, and like we'd have Progress reach out to us a couple times and things of that nature. And we would sell deals to them, but it wasn't like anything that we focused on at that point.
yeah. Well, I guess if you're getting really good offers from the ones that you got, I mean,
Yeah,
it's hard to buy them all.
Tricon did well as well. Yeah,
Oh,
Tricon
that's
was
right.
was paying good
Yeah.
money as well. I forgot about them.
Yep.
Tricon paid good money. Progress was paying good money then. Tiber, I don't. It was ridiculous what Tiber was paying. It was
They weren't
nuts.
they weren't so great price wise in Jacksonville compared to some of the others actually, but they would buy the older homes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. No, they crushed in Atlanta, man. It was nuts.
Did they? Oh man.
Yeah.
Um, so that shift happens around June, May, June, right? You start. Um, did your guys stop? The funds you were working with, did they? I mean, I know Tiber stopped. Did Amherst stop buying, or did their offers just become to the point where like it didn't make sense for you to use that as your sole disposition strategy anymore?
That's one. They're very conservative with their offers. That's number one, and number two, their concessions were just nuts. So let's just say you got a 300K offer.
Hmm.
If you got a 300K offer from them, after their inspection, they would say, okay, well, we'll give you 240 for it. I was like, dude, like I don't even have it for that price, you know, and you had to wait on their inspection. So it was a long process. Whereas you have a cash buyer, it's like, hey, most of the guys that are cash buyers, they buy sight on scene. You know, they ask you real quick, hey, how's the roof? How's the AC, Jason? Cool. It's like, I'll give you this much for it. Sight on
Yeah.
scene. 5K EMD will close in 7 days.
Yeah, talk about that because I feel like that's a big thing in the Phoenix market, and that's actually been a big thing that I've done in Jacksonville. I mean, I tend to sell to more experienced guys, but I don't do access generally unless it's vacant. I'm just like, here's a video walkthrough, here's the photos, here's the permits that were pulled. What do you? I mean, come on, like it's a 1,500 square foot house, but maybe I
Yeah.
leave money. I probably leave some money on the table that way, but for me, it's a convenience thing. But it seems like that is a lot of people don't do it that way here in Jacksonville. I'm one of the few, but it seems like in Phoenix, a lot of people tell me that that's kind of the norm. Is that kind of what you're seeing, or has that changed over time?
I feel like people are asking for access for properties a little bit more now than they used to. They're being a little bit more careful. They're being more conservative. But yeah,
Yeah,
man, we used to email a deal out. It's like, hey, I'll take it. Like literally, sight on scene. You know,
right.
that's what I'm saying. Like everything's changed so much. It was like sight on scene within 5 minutes. EMD's in with your title agency. It was nuts. So yeah, it's definitely changed. People want to access the property and they have a lot more questions about it. But something that we haven't done that I know that we need to switch to is we're not taking videos of the properties. We're just taking pictures.
Hmm.
And I think in the market that we're in now, if you don't want people asking for access, it's definitely one of those things where you have to do videos.
Hmm.
And I remember it worked because I used to take videos for Open Door,
Yep.
right? When we would sell directly to Open Door, and those worked as well. But we stopped doing it because it was only a requirement from Open Door. Like a lot of
Hmm.
our cash buyers never really asked for it, and the hedge funds they were going to do an inspection anyway. So honestly, a lot of times we wouldn't even take pictures. We'd just let them do their inspection.
Yeah. I've and I haven't implemented this yet. It's been a thought on my mind, but I do know a couple guys recently who've implemented they do Matterports and they have an inspection actually done like by like an actual inspector, and they actually send that out with their disposition packet. And I thought that was pretty interesting, right? I mean, if you can't make an offer on a property for the Matterport and an inspection report, I'm not so sure you're a real buyer. Like at the end of the day,
Yeah,
like what else do you need? Like,
I
um,
I agree. I agree.
they actually said it up their disposition price significantly. The guys who did it, I forget the numbers, but it
Really,
was a lot. Yeah, I was thinking about buying a
maybe
Matterport.
some look. Yeah, maybe something to look into. Yeah, they're not that expensive. I've seen them on like Amazon. I mean, obviously these are like cheap ones that you see like on like Amazon and stuff like that. But I mean, for what we're doing, I think it'll work.
Yeah, I think they're like 1,500 bucks, right? Something like that. Or I mean, it's not.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they're not too bad.
Uh, I mean, especially if you don't have to every time you pay someone to show the place. I mean, I don't know what you guys pay 100 bucks for someone to go out there to open the door. I mean, adds
It's
up pretty
true.
quick.
Well, we pay our photographers. We find a lot of photographers on Craigslist. Obviously, now we have built relationships, but when we're going to a new
Yeah.
market, we just look on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. We'll post looking for a photographer in this area. Just normally have people take pictures there. Another trick that I have used that works for me, just maybe that'll help you and your guys. If it's out of town,
Yeah.
I'll order an Uber. Well, I'm using Lyft. I'm Uber. The last Uber that I used, the guy told me no, I can't do that. But I used the Lyft, and I just sent a Lyft there to pick me up from there to like the corner store. And once he got there, I asked the Lyft driver, "Is like, hey, dude, actually, I'm not here. I just need you to take pictures of the property for me. If I sent you a $20 tip, would you mind doing it?" And yeah, it works.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. I didn't even think about
yeah.
that. Yeah, why
I
not?
mean,
Like,
they're already on the road. He's like, $20, dude. I was like, yeah, I was gonna get $5 for this ride. Like, hell yeah, I'll take it.
I'll do it. Yeah. That's hilarious. And he
Yeah.
go inside the property and everything,
So the
or
ones
just
that I've done
exterior?
so far are just lots because I pulled the list of
Okay.
lots because a buddy of mine was looking for lots and
Yeah.
we pulled that list and it's worked so far for that. I
Yeah.
haven't gone as far as like, can you take pictures inside of the house? But I've done it like on one of my flips, someone left the water on. I got a call from a neighbor and it was like way in Sun City, which from us from Phoenix to Sun City, it's like 45 minutes. And I was
Yeah.
telling Serge, I was like, "Shit, dude, I'm gonna have to leave the office. I gotta go turn off the damn water. The guys didn't turn it off or whatnot, and it's leaking all over the road now." And he's like, "Yeah," and I just like, "Hey, you know what? Let me see if I can get a Uber driver to go down there." So I went and I ordered an Uber, and once he got there, I told him, "Hey, actually, I just wanted you to turn off the water." He was like, "I can't do that, man. That's against Uber regulations." I was like, "I'm just gonna cancel this ride." I was like, "Okay, sorry, I apologize." So I was like, "Well, that sucks." I was like, "Well, you know what? Let me try Lyft. Maybe the Lyft driver would do it, you know?"
Yeah.
And I tried Lyft, and he was like, "Yeah, man." He was like, "Where's it at?" It's like, "I'll turn it off." It's like
Yeah. Why?
$75. I'm happy.
Yeah.
He's
Why
like, "I
not?
don't care."
Like,
He
yeah.
goes, "I made your ride trip, and I don't have to go anywhere, and you're gonna give me an extra $5. Cool." I was like, "Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Appreciate it."
Yeah. Don't be such a stickler. Like, let's do
Yeah,
this. Like,
yeah.
I love
So
that.
it's
Dude, I've
pretty
used
good.
Uber drivers when I've like I lost my car keys at the airport one time, and then I had one of them pick it up from my parents' house, and they weren't home. I had a neighbor leave the key under the mat, and he was gonna bring the key to the airport. I mean, he was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." Like,
Yeah, yeah, it works. It works. Obviously, Uber should do that, like easy to do things right for people. If you're already driving people, why you got to stop at an address anyways, you know?
yeah. I never thought about it for
Or
property photos though. That's genius. I love that.
yeah,
Um,
and
so
it's not my idea. I heard it from somewhere,
sure. Yeah.
and I was like, hey,
Um,
I'm gonna try it.
so you're so talk to me now, like obviously your dispositions process before was, email your funds, get your offer back, do your inspection, and then, move forward or not. Fairly simple, maybe not quick, but fairly simple.
Hmm.
What is your dispositions process look like now? You get a property under contract, what's
Get
happening
a
from that point?
We get a property under contract. The number one's get photos, right? After
Hmm.
photos, we purchase investor lift.
Okay.
We're in investor lift. We have cartel mode, so or God mode. I don't know what they call it, but it's pretty much, you get
Yeah.
access to all the buyers. It's like crazy expensive though. But I mean, we
Yeah.
when we bought it, we were making money at the time. Like it's way different now. Like we probably wouldn't have bought it right now,
Sure. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but at the time we purchased it, it was like, hey, it's fine. So we do that. We email it out. After we email it out, we'll post it on Facebook. And believe it or not, we've had success. Like back then, it was like, who the hell posts them on Facebook? Like, you get a lot of daisy chainers. You'll
Yeah.
get a lot of daisy chainer guys that all they do is try to sell your deal to someone else. Which at the end of the day, like, I don't care personally. If the deal sells, it sells. The only thing I didn't like about it is they would ask you a million questions and not get anything done, you know. And I was like, that's kind of
Yeah,
the daisy chainers that I didn't like, you know.
sure.
So I had those guys. We do on Facebook. We post on Craigslist, um, and then we skip trace like any um, any absentee owners within a mile radius, 2 mile radius, and just we text them. It's like, hey, I have another off market property in there. I was just wondering if you're looking for another investment property.
Yeah,
And at that point, you should get enough feedback where it's like, you know, either you got it priced wrong or something's going on there. But you should get
yeah,
enough feedback to know why it's not selling.
yeah. When you're doing the investor lift email blast, I mean, are you just blasting to everyone who's interested in that? I mean, I know they got their mode where everyone shares contacts, but like, are you
You know.
are you making it targeted to people who bought within a mile or 2 miles? Or are you just saying, hey, everyone who's in cartel mode or God mode, whatever they call it, in Phoenix, and hitting everyone, like thousands of people?
No, no, it's done by area. So the way they originally does it, let's just say, for example, Phoenix. It'll
Yep.
hit Phoenix cash buyers first, right? And then you go there, and then from there you could go to county, which our county is Maricopa County. Then you send to all the Maricopa County buyers, and from
Yep.
there you could go to state, so you could hit all your entire state. But I think they max it out where you could only do like 200 miles within the proper area or something of that nature, so you're not
Yeah.
just bombarding everybody.
But even the first round you do, I mean, it's Phoenix. I mean, it's not like it's a pretty big area. It's not just like it's not like it's not like a mile radius or anything. It's pretty large. Like city is the smallest blast that you guys do.
Yeah, let me see here. I just sent out a couple deals earlier today. Let me see here.
Yeah.
So just my Phoenix or Maricopa County loans about 35,000 cash buyers. Had
Wow.
4,000 people open up the email.
Wow.
Um, Let me see here. I got 141 unique people, pretty much first time openers. I
Hmm.
got blocked by 5 people, and I got marked spam by 5 people as well. So no, and that's kind of the analytics there on this one.
It's funny.
And so I'm not, I'm not. I've gotten a couple emails on it, a couple texts, but nothing solid. So, and again, I think there's definitely something to be said about branding because I'll
Yeah.
send out this deal, right? I paid this much money for this investor lift and cartel mode and all this stuff, and I could still send the same deal out to my buddy Wilkins' email blast, his cash buyer blast, and they'll call him for the same price. It's the same person that got that email, but because he's been in wholesaling in Arizona for so long or Phoenix, people just message him, "Hey, is it still available?"
Yeah. You know, I've been on the other end of that, man. I'll admit it. Like I was on the investor lift email blast for a while, because we're obviously looking to
Hmm.
buy stuff in Jacksonville, and I actually unsubscribed at a certain point because I was just getting so many deals that were horrific. Like when
Yeah,
I say horrific, and it's not investor lift, right? It's whoever prices them sending them out. But I'm like, I mean, when you're 100K off on like when your asking price is 100K over the ARV, and in Jacksonville, these homes that they're sending out are like 200K homes. It's just egregious to the point where it's like, I mean,
right.
I'm the kind of guy who offers on everything, right? I'm like, I don't like care what the asking price is, but I'm like, all right, 300K for a 200K ARV home, and it needs a 60K rehab. It's just so egregious that I didn't want to look at it, so I actually unsubscribed
Yeah,
from a lot of them. So I could see that, right? If I got it, but I bet you if one of my buddies sent me one and we had done a deal together, I would open it and I would look at it, and I may tell him he's crazy, but I would look at it. So
yeah,
that's a good
a
point.
hundred percent. That, yeah, 100%. That makes sense. Yeah, that's why. Like, I don't on our investor lift, we won't send anything over 70% of ARV. Like if it's going to be 70% of ARV, and I'm not going to send it whatsoever, unless and if it's a if I feel like we're sending it over, but it's a really good deal for a certain individual, I'll send it to him individually. He's like, hey, dude, look, I know it's a little high, but this is what I'm seeing. Tell me what your thoughts are. But I
And
don't do that anymore. My guy Frank takes care of that right now. He's our dispo manager. But I agree with you. There's a lot of shit deals being sent out, and it honestly it does fuck up investor lift in the sense where people are sorry my language, where people kind of like you said, hey, you're a buyer, and you said, dude, I don't even look at those emails anymore because like the deals that people are sending out are shit.
yeah. It's just like a time thing, right? I'm just like, I prioritize the one from the guy I know. I'm like, oh, okay, like, Jacob sent me a deal. Let me take a look at this, right? Versus, oh,
Yeah.
investor lift, I'll get to that. at some point. It's probably 100K
Right,
over ARV. Right. I probably missed out on
right,
some
right.
honestly because of that, but I just, time is there's only so many hours in a day. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so those guys who, if it's over 70% of ARV and you're targeting them, right? Are those guys who bought from you before, or that's kind of using the investor lift thing, showing that that guy really likes those specific type of properties, and your guys calling them, or how's that work?
Right. Yeah, right now, no. So we just do it by city. We don't even send it. We have a VIP buyers list or like guys that you
Okay.
work with, and Frank does it now, but he just texts them the deal direct. They feel like that's easier. It's like, hey, got this
Yeah.
deal before I shoot out. I want to have a look at it. We'll give them,
Yeah.
6 to 8 hours on it.
Yeah.
Have a look at it. Hey, make me an offer. If not, cool, it's getting sent out.
Yeah. Are you selling a lot of stuff before sending it out that way, or do you still send it out regardless, or?
We're actually sending, we sold a couple deals now. Like before, Facebook was horrible, but now you're actually getting people buying on Facebook, and this is why I feel like a lot of those first time flipper guys, like the guys
Yeah.
that have never flipped, they're just new and they look up like wholesale deals in Phoenix, and
Yep.
you post in those groups, man, and those guys will see it, and if they feel like it's a deal, like a newbie like me, like I didn't
Yep.
know if I felt like I was getting a deal, but you don't know that until you actually go pay for closing costs on the front end, and then when you sell it, what all the stuff that that 6% that you spend on selling the deal, like you don't know that,
Yeah.
and until you actually go through it, right? So you always think you're going to make more money than you actually are,
Sure.
with your
Yeah.
original. So I feel like a lot of those first time flippers, they're willing to pay a little, they're paying more money than an experienced guy would any time of the day. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, I think if you ask anybody, hey, did you make money or lose money on your first flip? I could probably guarantee 90% of people lost money on their first flip.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they were happy to
But
break even, like super happy. Like,
yeah, but I think once you do it once, you're like, it's a proven concept. You're like, hey, I got it. I figured it out. Like, I'm gonna keep
yeah.
doing it.
So those guys that like those like VIP guys who bought from you before that you text, like, are they? Let's say they say, yeah, I'll take it, or they make you like a pretty strong offer. Are you then not sending it out on your
Yeah,
investor lift class, or?
yeah, we won't even send it out. We won't even input it into Investor Lift. We'll just send over the assignment, get it done, and get it tied
Yeah.
up. So a lot of deals they don't ever get to see.
Yeah. And then are you guys obviously with a different disposition process and maybe some buyers requesting access now versus just having to send one hedge fund inspector? Is that a different, how does that conversation look with the seller on the front end to prep them for that?
Just let them know that we're going to need access to the property, and we do keep showings very limited, right?
Yeah.
We keep them very limited. It's a couple people, and a lot of times, if you want to access the property, we send out the assignment. We ask for EMD up front, and it's pretty much, hey, like your EMD goes solid after your inspection. You got to give us a call and say, hey, are you good to go or not? If not, cool, here you go. But at the end of the day, you're not wasting time with tire kickers.
So they're making you an offer and then you're getting the assignment signed, getting the EMD in contract, and then basically they get to go and give you a thumbs up, thumbs down. Is that how you guys are running it? Or?
Correct. Yeah. And you get to look at
Okay.
it. You get to see that the house is how the pictures say they are.
Yep.
And if it works for you, great, you take it. If not, you could bow out and get your EMD back at that moment. But
Yep.
at the very least, if someone's not willing to put an EMD, they're probably a tire kicker or they're probably another wholesaler trying to daisy chain it, which I'm okay with. Like I really am. My partner hates it. He's like, man, I don't want people freaking selling my deals. Like I don't care as long as it gets sold. For me, I was like, but I don't just want to give everyone access to the property, and because for the seller, it's not fair for the seller. They're selling
Yeah.
it to you for a reason, right? They're giving it to you for a discounted price so that they
Yep.
don't have to go through the traditional retail route or whatnot.
So then your access, your showings, it's literally just one guy, or I guess one guy, maybe his partner, right? Because he's already put down the money, are you bringing your maybe one or two backup offers out with that guy in case he gives the thumbs down?
We try to line up 2 to 3. Like if I give someone to put down EMD, I'll try to line
Yep.
up two or three of the people with them. That way they all go out at the same time. Because worst case scenario, one of them will take it, right? If this guy says no, but at least I know he's serious because earnest money's already down.
Got it. So it's his, and then the other guys, you tell them it's a backup offer. You just say, hey, or you
No,
book your, yeah,
no, transparent with them. Hey, it's a backup
yeah,
offer.
yeah. You get a lot of like, let's say they do that walkthrough. Like, how many guys are really coming out of that and being like, no, I'm not taking it. Is it pretty low rate or
It's pretty, it's pretty low. Most people take him, to be quite honest with you. I
yeah,
mean, if you look at the pictures, you have a really good understanding. If you're an experienced flipper, I think you have a really good understanding of what you're going to walk into.
yeah, gotcha.
I think the
Cool,
big thing
interesting.
is when there's a shot roof and they couldn't notice it, like on the pictures, or I didn't even notice it, right? Because I'm not the one walking in. They see, fuck, man, the roof was shot. That's an extra 8 to 12K. Like it's not going to work for me at this number.
Right, right. Then you kind of got to take it from there. Cool.
Yeah.
Got it. So that's changed, and this has kind of been since May or June. I mean, have you guys started back up hedge fund stuff at all, or you're pretty much still going this, traditional investor disposition process at this point?
We're just going traditional sell at this point. I don't feel like the hedge funds are competitive enough, and for the
Hmm.
amount of work that has to be done to get a deal done to the hedge fund, it's not worth it, right? It's not worth them going through their inspection, seeing if they're going to come back with concessions and all that situation to make 10K. I was like, I'd rather just do it with the cash buyer.
Right.
But I will tell you this: that it's very hard to get a deal right now.
Yep.
People aren't selling. The difference between back, 2021 till present time right now is you got to find people that need to sell, not people that want to sell. Back
Yeah.
then, I was getting deals on people that wanted to sell. Like I
Yeah.
can't, no one's going to sell me their house at 60% of ARV unless they need to sell and they need to sell
Hmm.
fast for one reason or another. And I think that's a big difference between 2021 and 2022 year to date.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a totally different for us as well. How are you guys handling that? Like, what changes have you made to account for that?
Pretty much data that we bought now. It's like,
Hmm.
we're looking for 1980 and older.
Okay.
So right, we were before all most of the stuff that we had for our buy box for the hedge funds were 1990 plus.
Yep.
Now we're looking 1980 and below. So we're looking for older homes, more beat up homes, niche lists like liens, tax liens, foreclosures, things of that nature. So yeah, the I guess our marketing or our target audience has changed some now, or 10
Yeah.
actually.
So have you are you just not marketing at all to those 1990 and newer homes, or newer than 1980, or you've just kind of also included the older homes?
We just they're also included in the older homes. I mean, we have so much data that it's just in a tumbler rolling, man, 100%
Yeah.
every time. Because someone that didn't want to sell 6 months ago for one reason or another need to sell
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And you're still doing like pretty widespread marketing, like majority cold calling and texting, or have you shifted that at all?
No, we shifted. Our cold calling is more niche now,
Okay.
but our SMS is just running. It's still we have it in a tumbler, so it's messaging everybody. And anybody that raises their hand that says, yes, I want to sell, it's up to our lead managers now to qualify them and say, hey, this person needs to sell, not wants to sell. And I think that's the biggest difference
Yeah.
that we tell our guys now is like, hey guys, like quit wasting your time with people that want to sell. Like you need to find someone that needs to sell. Qualify
Yeah.
'em. Like what's your
Yeah.
need? What's your motivation? And
Hmm.
wanting to upgrade a home is not really a motivation. Like it's got to be something drastic. 'Cause think about it. Are you going to sell your house for 60% of ARV? Like I told my
Yeah.
guys, like he's like, well, you're because they didn't even believe that we could get it done. And I was like, hey, well, I just sold one of my houses in Tucson for 60% of ARV that I bought from another wholesaler because I've been paying hard money loan on it since I like 6 months ago. I haven't done anything with it because my crews are busy over there. I can't
Hmm.
flip it. I can't do anything with it. I took a bath on it. I took like a 30K hit on it. It's like, what do you do? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you had some pain there, right? You needed to
Yeah,
sell.
I needed to sell. I looked at it, like that $2,000 a month bill for that house that we haven't done anything to. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
like I'm done with it, right?
yeah.
And
And
another
you
investor bought it, and he's gonna fix it, and he's gonna make money on it, or he's gonna keep it as a rental. I don't know what he's gonna do, but I needed to sell at that point.
yeah. So are you guys fixing and flipping again, or are you sticking pretty strictly to wholesale?
Just wholesale right now. I'm just finishing up all the end of my flips. I think I have my second to last just went on the market, and had one in
Mhm.
Sun City. Have that one on the market. So, and I have one more left in South Phoenix. I'm finishing that one up, and I'm done for the time being. If I recuperate all my money back, I may still buy. I mean, there's some amazing deals out here now. There's
Is there?
some really good deals out here. Yeah, there's some good
Yeah.
deals out here. I mean, I'm getting stuff at 50 to 60% of ARV shot to me sometimes. So I'm like, shit. It may be
From
something to take a
from
stab at.
wholesalers. From
Yeah,
wholesalers.
yeah, from wholesalers. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So that means they
So
probably have it at 40. I mean, that's wild.
yeah,
In a market like
so
Phoenix. Wow.
there's some deals to be had here.
Yeah. So I guess what's your um actually one thing I wanted to touch on. I know for a while, I mean at one point you guys had basically a whole call center in I think the Philippines working for you. I think you had almost 50 callers. Now you guys have cut that back a little bit. Can you talk like just a little bit about how you've structured your cold calling operation?
Yeah, so we right now we have to what is it? I believe we have about 25 cold callers right now. I'd have to search exactly because it fluctuates up and down on a weekly basis. He kind of looks at it as like, hey, this caller isn't working that well. Like I'm gonna kick him, boot him off the campaign. This guy is working well. I think we have 8 in the Philippines right now, and the rest are in Egypt. Um,
Got it.
so we have some cold callers up in Egypt, and the reason why we use some of those Egypt cold callers is they come with the dialer and everything already included in their pricing. So with the Philippines, we have to have our own ready mode dialer, and we pay for the seat, $100 a seat. Those guys
Yep.
included already within their seat with their fee.
And are these you're hiring companies to do this outsourced
Yeah,
or you guys okay.
yeah, we like it personally. People being in a call center because they're being managed, they're being looked at by other people, things of that nature. When you're doing it, when you're doing it all on, let's just say, because you could go on,
Yeah.
you could go, what's that website? Fiverr. What's the other one that's for VAs?
Upwork or
Yeah, Upwork. I used to hire a ton of people there at Upwork, but they're working from home, right? And you
yeah.
don't keep like really good tabs on them. So it's a little bit, they're harder to manage. And the reason why we hire call center people is so that we don't have to manage them. At the end of the day, we
Yeah.
just look at their KPIs, ask their manager, hey, how come these individuals haven't hit their goals? Have they been trained up? Have they not? Great. Okay, well, if they don't get it by the end of next week, we need to exit them out.
Yeah.
It's a lot more simpler to have that
And are you guys, let's say you have I think you said 8 in the Philippines and the rest I
conversation.
guess are in Egypt, so that's 17 in Egypt. Are you saying like, are you looking at all of them and saying we're going to cut the bottom guy each week? I mean, not they don't obviously they just put them on a different campaign at the call center, or are you just saying, hey, as long as they're hitting their numbers, we're fine. But if they start to drop below for X amount of weeks, we want another guy. Is that kind of your relationship with the call center, or how does that work?
Yeah, pretty much. And from the call center in Egypt, they have about 3,000 agents working there. So they do
Wow.
stuff like for big companies, Verizon, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So uh, they don't just dabble in real estate. They have call centers for insurance companies, telecommunication companies, things of that nature. So they have a huge customer support
Yeah.
service that they offer for people in the US or whatnot. Um, so yeah, it's pretty much for us. All we ask is at least 2 leads per guy, 2 well qualified leads per individual.
Per day.
That's kind of yeah, per day. I feel like in the Phoenix market, that's tough to do because again,
Hmm.
this is the market that's being called the most. This is the market that's being drilled the most. So if you get 2 qualified leads, I think it works. I think once you start pressing those guys like, hey, I need 4 leads from you, they're gonna start sending you bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I just gotta hit my number. Let me send in this lead.
What's a qualified lead for you guys from a cold caller? What's the characteristics of that lead?
Same thing. They want to sell.
Hmm.
They're at they're at Zillow price or below.
Hmm.
Would they be open to taking a lesser offer for the convenience of paying cash and closing soon? Um, and I forget what else, but we made it really easy. And the reason why we did that is we were thinking when we're doing PPC, right? The only thing that we really ask for in a PPC lead is your full name, your property address, and how much you want it, and your phone number.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's okay. So somebody opted in at that point. We make it really easy for them, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously that that culture barrier, they speak a little bit differently. Sometimes they don't understand sarcasm, things of that nature. So we just make
Sure.
it as easy as we possibly can. And at the end of the day, you're being on the phone 5 hours, 6 hours again a day, getting told F off.
It's
People get
tough.
burnt out after a while.
Yeah, it's a hard gig. I mean,
It is.
we got four guys on the phones, or three guys, one girl on the phone all day, and it's we manage it in house, but it is it's a hard gig. We're gonna work on a lot of sales skills, a lot of mindset stuff because it's people are pretty rude. People are pretty brutal on the phone.
They are.
Um,
It's a tough game.
who if you don't mind sharing, what's the call center that you guys use over there in Egypt?
I could get you the contact info that way you could share with your team there. I gotta find him here. Uh, the
I
guy's
think
name is
people.
Kareem.
Okay.
Are you ready
I
for
think
the
people.
phone number? I'm gonna give you the direct line.
I mean, you can just say it out loud. I think people in the audience may appreciate it. I mean, we do all in
Okay.
house, but I think
His,
people in the audience may
his
find it
name's
helpful.
Kareem. Tell him Jason sent you. The phone number that he has it's 214-817-1599. His name is Kareem. And he asked us
And
one
what?
time we wanted to white label his service or whatever. I was like, nah, not really. I don't want to sell anything.
Yeah. Just keep giving us good cold callers and leads.
Pretty much, yeah.
What does it run you to outsource that service? Like, how do they charge you for
I
that?
think they're like $5 or $6 an hour, something of that nature. Yeah, but they
Wow.
include the dialer. They include the seat as well.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. So, when you have ready mode, you have to buy a seat for every agent that you have. That's $100 a pop.
Yep.
Um, or it used to be. I don't know what it is now, but it used to be. I know Call Tools is very similar. Those are like the top two there. Mike?
Hey, sorry about that. My connection. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry, you were saying they provide the dialer. You were paying that seat cost before.
Yeah, we were paying the seat cost before they take care of it, so you're just paying on the caller. And to be quite honest with you, like everything works. I have a buddy that lives and die by people in the Philippines, right? I got another
Yeah.
buddy that he uses nothing but Central America, and I believe Guatemala is the country that he uses. Like he's like, dude, those are the best. They're on our
I know.
time zone. They're not working during the night. They're all this. I was like, hey, honestly, it's like what works for you.
Yeah.
Depending on the budget you have. Like, if I could, I'd want stay-at-home moms in the U.S. to be doing that for me, all day long.
Yep.
But it's going to get expensive, and at scale,
Yep.
it gets a little bit tougher.
Yeah. I think everything works if you do it right. Right? Like you can do it
Yep.
in house. We do it in house. We've got a great guy who manages it. But I say in house, I mean they're in Mexico or the Philippines, but they don't work for an external company, and that's worked well for us. And then I talk to guys like you, is like, yeah, we just outsource it all, and that works great for us. And it's,
Yeah.
just whatever you put the effort into. Um,
100%.
so outside of KPIs, do you do any like quality control, like recording, listening, or anything like that with them?
Yeah, they do. So pretty much as the guys, we our acquisitions guys and our lead managers, they'll tag a lead if it's bad. This is like, hey, I never had a conversation with this person, or I never told them I wanted to sell, or it's
Hmm.
a good lead, or if it's an okay lead, we have them tag them, and all the bad leads, we'll get the voice recordings for all of those because we have
Yep.
access to it, and we'll kind of see, hey, was this agent BSing or what's going on? Because at the end of the day, like your guys will tell you, hey, the leads that we're getting are good or they go bad. And sales guys, they get a bad lead, they'll tell you right away. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll even tell you on the lead that's just okay, that is bad.
Yeah. It's like, hey, this person said they never wanted to fucking sell. Like, why did they give me this lead? Like, oh, let's
Yeah.
check it, man.
Yeah. And then so you guys check that, and then you give feedback to your I guess your
Yeah.
manager, who's ever your account manager at the call center, and then based on that they kind of tweak. Is that kind of how the
Yeah.
process
And
works?
I would say Kareem and them have a really dialed in system. They really do. Because the minute you're
Yeah.
not happy with somebody, they're like, okay, let's get somebody in quality control. I'm gonna either train they said, hey, I'm gonna either get them trained up within the next 24 hours, or they're not gonna be on your campaign anymore. I was like, all right, cool. So they're on it.
Wow. That's fast. 24 hours. Jeez. Brutal place
I
to
mean, think
work.
about it, if they have 3,000 agents, they just switch them around. I would
Yeah.
assume that they just put them on something that's a lot easier, right?
Sure. Yeah. They put them on customer service, not
Yeah,
people are
yeah,
only screaming at you in 1 out of 20 calls instead of 1 out of 4. So,
right, right, 100%.
cool. So I guess what does your business look like now, and what's your vision for what your business will look like, let's say a year from today?
Right now, we have four acquisitions guys, four lead managers, a transaction coordinator, a dispositions manager. So what is that? 10 people there. Um,
Uh,
four, four, two. Yeah, right. Yeah,
yep.
that's about
Yeah,
ten
10.
people there.
Yeah.
Our goal was to get out of the operational role and sit in the owner's box by December. Realistically, the way things are right now, I don't know if that's going to happen. Right?
Hmm.
The market's just shifted so much that I think the guys need a lot of guidance, leadership, and things of that nature. But for the time being, yeah, our goal was to exit out, and from there, I was going to go. Yeah, I wanted to get into development as far as luxury home development. I think it's an easier process. It's long term. Kind of like a friend a long time ago told me, "Hey, Jason, a 2x4 costs the same in a $300,000 home than it does in a $1.5 million home." You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
I met a guy within CG Collective Genius. It's another mastermind that we're part of. We were actually supposed to be in Tampa this week, but we didn't make it out. Those guys, they do luxury homes. They do well, and they've scaled that business. They work here in AZ. They work in Denver, California. He does that on a
Hmm.
mass level. For me, if I could just start doing it here in Arizona, I think I'd be really happy with that. Um, it's not so stressful. Wholesale, I would tell you this: wholesale is a young man's game. It's like
Yeah,
you're
it is.
always chasing it. Yeah, wholesale's a young man's game. You're always chasing the buck. It's an amazing way to get started. It's an amazing opportunity, but eventually, kind of want to branch out into different things.
Yeah. And when you say kind of high end development, are you talking about spec building, or are you talking about, homeowner comes to you, has a vision, and you help make their vision a reality? You have a
No,
buyer
spec
lined up for
building.
this
Where
company. Spec,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
no, no, spec building. I see the guys are pretty much scraping homes like 1960s and older, and like these really like it's like three zip codes that everybody's focused on there. They're just scraping
Okay.
these homes and building a brand new custom home on there and reselling them on the market, and they do well.
Okay. And would you develop in house, or would you kind of hire a builder to do it? You kind of put together the deal and the debt and all that. Like, what's your vision there?
My goal is at first hiring a contractor, doing it with him, building in the. I have a source for funds for the time being right now, but just teaming up with a developer that's already done it. And there's a few in that
Hmm.
area. There's about seven,
Sure.
8 in that area that are doing. At the end of the day, like getting the deals, the hard part, which I think I'll be able to do so myself. Right? I'll find
Yeah.
the lot that we could scrape and things of that nature, and I'll work it from there.
Yeah. Yeah. You bring that value. Um,
Yeah.
And guys, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to post in the chat. This is a live show, so Jason, we can get your questions answered by Jason. Um, what are you guys seeing? Like for obviously it's been rough, since June. What are you seeing for the rest of this year and maybe quarter 1 of 2023? I mean, obviously no one's got a crystal ball, but what's your prediction?
Um, I think demand's going to go down even more. I think, it's going to be, we're going to go through some tough 6 months, but you just got to adjust to the market. And we're just in that gap right now between homeowners knowing that their house isn't worth what they think it's worth
Yep.
and what it's actually worth. We're in that gap, right? They don't know that yet, right? We're in
Yep.
it because we're doing this every day. We know what homes are selling for. We know what cash buyers are buying for.
Yep.
The public sellers, they don't know that. They're not in every day. They see the headlines, but I don't think it's real to them yet because they haven't tried selling their home, right? It's going to take a while to their neighbor try selling their home and they realize they can't sell it and they realize, oh crap, like I'm not going to get 50K over what my home's worth anymore. Like
Yeah.
that went
Yeah.
away. That went
Yeah.
away in May. So we're in that gap, and I think we all just gotta just buckle down. Um, buckle down. Really work hard right now for the time being, and really grind it out for the next 6 months to a year because it's going to be tough. It was really easy for anyone to make money in the past couple of years, man. And that's not the
Yeah.
case anymore.
Yeah.
So a lot of the guys that were making a ton of money, they're gonna have to work for it now, and that's kind of where I told Sergio, I was like, hey, like things will be okay. We're just gonna have to really work hard for it.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier, like obviously, your guys' goal was to exit the business, but you feel like now leadership is needed more. What
Yeah,
are you guys doing to be leaders to your team in this time?
surrounding myself by people that are doing a lot better than me.
Hmm.
Asking a ton of questions, educating ourselves on the market, and bringing that information back to all our team. Hey, this is what we're seeing nationwide. This is what other, I guess, wholesalers that are at our level or a little bit above us are seeing. This is how they're dealing with situations and things of that nature. We're also bringing novations into our business. So we're
Okay.
training one of my acquisitions guys to be 100% novations. He's just going to try to get novation deals 100%. Something that Colton Fast taught us. He actually presented on this in CG Select. That's that mastermind that we're in. So we're going to
Yeah.
get one guy to do that 100%. See if that changes. For me, I'm going to start focusing on foreclosures. So I'm going to go door
Okay.
knocking, see if it's prove that process. And once I do, I'm going to train one of my guys on that process. But it's just about
Hmm.
leading the way, charging the way, right? Like
Sure.
just showing them that it can be done, have them believe, and keep moving forward.
Yeah. So you'll that one guy who's doing the novations is your strategy, like, your guys will make the cash offer and if it doesn't work, they'll kind of transfer the call to him. Because you guys are doing all virtual, right? It's all virtual acquisitions still or phone acquisitions, is
Yeah,
what I mean. Yeah.
yep. It's all phone acquisitions. Yeah, because what I noticed, we pitched innovations to all the guys, right? And they were like, yeah, 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 we'll do it. And I heard them. So what I'm noticing with them right now, I messed them up because they were like, well, maybe this could be an ovation deal, or maybe this could be a cash out deal, or or seller finance deal, right? Because they heard
Yeah.
me get a deal on the phone, seller finance. I got this house in Tucson, seller finance for like $5,000 down, and we kept that as
Yeah.
a renter. I was like, oh, you should do that. We should do that. And I'm like, hey, like I'm trying to like, no, it messed up their sales process where they got lost and it's like, which route am I taking? So for right now, it's like I have one guy doing novations. The rest of our guys are going to continue doing wholesaling. And if it's a novation deal, they got to pass it over to him. And if
Hmm.
it's a seller finance, I mean, if it's a regular wholesale deal, he's got to do the same and hand it off to one of them. And
Yeah.
then I'm going to train another guy on seller finance. Once I have him dialed in, he's going to get 100% of all of the seller finance leads, and then just go
Okay.
from there and just break it down.
How are you determining though what it is? Are they making the cash offer and then getting like it's not going to work, and then they're saying, okay, maybe let's transfer to the innovation guy, or like how are
So
they
we just
cutoff point?
literally decided to do it 100% yesterday. So pretty
I
much it's
love it,
on
man.
every deal that you get, you're
Yeah.
gonna pitch innovation, and if it doesn't work, then you're gonna hand it off to the rest of the guys for a cash deal. Which
And
for me, I
just
think the innovation deal is a lot easier. Hey,
yeah,
you got 12 leads in your bucket, dude. Just pitch innovation. Pitch
yeah, just
innovation.
try.
That's all I need you to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and have them get good at it, and then you can figure it out, right? Yeah, I
Yep.
like it.
Yeah, it's going to be a learning process, but I think just failing forward, it always seemed to work for us.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's the fastest way to learn. Um,
Yeah.
we're one other thing. So mindset. Mindset's super
Okay.
important. I mean, it's always super important in a time, but in a time like this, what are you doing to keep your own mindset in a good place? And also the mindset, we all know mindset with sales guys can be everything. If they believe they can get the deal, they can, right? So how are you keeping them in a good mindset and yourself as a leader in a good mindset in these times?
Um, just kind of the whole analogy from Bradley. I don't know if you listen to Bradley. A lot of guys should. Like, if you're in sales, you should listen to Bradley. He's awesome. He's
Okay.
on. You'd be able to listen to him on Instagram and stuff like that. But one thing that I always tell the guys that just change your mindset that from I have to I get to, right? Like today, like I get up, it's like I get to go to work. I don't have to go to work, right? I
Yeah.
get to make these calls. I don't have to go to calls because the reality is someone didn't wake up today. You did.
Yeah.
So it's just very simple. Just be grateful for what you have, and it's like tell the guys like we have an amazing work environment. We have a badass office. Guys play ping pong. They play PlayStation.
Yeah.
Um, they have snacks. They have beer. You know, they have a good time. They get to do what the hell they want as long as they're being productive in the office. Like
Yeah.
where else are you going to go and get that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you can
Well,
find it, right? I'm sure you can find other places, but it's like we work Monday through Friday. The guys get the weekends off. It's like what type of other in sales environments are you going to get that? Like my buddies work at the dealership. Man, they're working 10 days straight.
oh yeah. You got to work Saturday, Sunday if you're selling cars. Come on.
Yep.
And so what's the guy's name? I feel like is that Lea? Leah? I feel like I've heard his name, but I can't remember
Bradley,
exactly. Is it
the
is it
real
Lee?
Bradley. Yeah,
Okay.
Bradley. Bradlea.
Lea. Okay. He's on Instagram. I want to check him
Yeah,
out.
he's on
So
Instagram. You can follow him.
cool. Awesome, man. Well, we're getting to the end here, but there's always two questions that I always like to ask people at the end of the podcast. First one's a little fun. What is the craziest or most uncomfortable situation that you have experienced with a seller?
Um, the craziest transact. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I haven't had anything too crazy. I have had. So we've wholesaled the deal, right?
Hmm.
We've wholesaled the deal, and the buyer closed on it. They started rehabbing, and took all the person's belongings out of the house because they thought they were moved out. They thought it was all junk, right? Which it was. It was just a bunch of trash. But for whatever reason, the seller was like, "No, that's some of my personal stuff." So they took all their stuff to the dump. It just went. It was fucking nuts. I was getting calls at 2 in the morning. This person
Oh,
trashed my house. They took everything out. I was like, I told you. I thought you were already gone. And unfortunately, it wasn't. I thought it was personally a bunch of trash because it looked like trash, but it was some of their belongings. So I'm getting calls at two,
oh,
3 in the morning, like, "Where's all my shit, Jason?" And I was like, honestly, you took it to the dump already, I guess. So no,
oh,
fortunately, the guy had taken his dump truck to their yard and they found some of the stuff there, but it was all around just a bad mess.
yeah, that's no fun. Um,
Yeah.
and then the final question I always like to ask people, if you could go back in time, to when you were looking for your first deal, maybe when you first decided to go full time in your wholesale business, beginning of 2021, and you could share one piece of advice with yourself then, knowing what you know now, what is the one thing that you would tell yourself?
Just pick up the phone, do the work. Don't try to learn so much. Don't try to perfect it. Just do it.
Yeah.
You're gonna figure it out. Kind of and I don't know who posted this not too long ago. It's like 10,000 cold calls will show you more about sales than you'll ever learn in any book, any mastermind, anywhere that you go. That's the reality of it. Just do the
Yeah.
work, make the phone calls, knock on that door. You're gonna find a deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, really appreciate you coming on. If people want to reach out to you, if they want to send you deals, if they just have questions for you, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, shoot me an email. That's the easiest way. You could text me as well. I'll respond. But if you call me, I'm probably not going to answer. So I get so many phone calls. But if you want to shoot me a text or shoot me an email, I always respond.
Cool. Can you read can you just say it out loud? Because some people are going to listen to only audio. So if you want to share your email and your phone.
It's 602-769-7115. That's 602-769-7115. Sorry about that. I got a bunch of text messages coming in.
No, you're good. And your email, man.
Email is Jaysen, Jaysen, at thelocalinvestoraz.com.
Cool, man. Awesome, Jaysen. Well, thanks for coming on today. It's good to see you, man. And yeah, thanks for sharing everything.
No problem. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.